Hey guys, Nathan Brandon Masters. This is a re-upload of a video I did the other day. I did do some edits to it and I wanted to make some clarifications. So in this video, I mentioned Sneeko and Fresh and Fit when talking about anti-Semitism, and I mentioned them in the same breath as Hasan and Frogan. It was brought to my attention that people may think that I'm putting them in the same category. I wasn't, but I circle back to them to basically point out how they were treated versus how Hasan and Frogan were treated, based around the idea that all of them were saying anti-Semitic things, in my opinion. Another thing, I was under the impression that Ludwig streamed on YouTube and Twitch, or that he streamed on Twitch and was uploaded to YouTube. But it was brought to my attention that right now he was streaming only on YouTube, and as a matter of fact, that is the only place I ever see him. So that was on me. But my premise does not change. It's still that I believe he doesn't say certain things about certain people, namely about Hasan, because he wants to stay in his good graces. Now, I don't know if he's going to go back to Twitch when he's done with YouTube or if he's going to stay here, but there's obviously a need to kind of make sure you don't piss off the big dog. Because if you're on YouTube, I'm not really sure why he couldn't just say who was doing what, except to not name people who you're friendly with. But again, everybody knows who it is. Like Ethan said, he didn't have to talk about it. But I did clip that part out because clearly it made no sense considering the actual facts. I do know that some of them are big enough to cause problems, cross-platform, but I'm not sure that's an actual fear of his. The final thing, I do notice that typically when people come after Hasan, there's an assumption that you're playing for Destiny. The assumption that Destiny or people who like Destiny are the only people who dislike Hasan is absolutely wild to me. But I understand that that's a narrative that Hasan pushes, and I can tell you that it's not true. A lot of people just genuinely dislike Hasan Piker and or just straight up disagree with him. He's a socialist that's a better capitalist than I am. He lives in a $3 million home. One of us is really bad at capitalism, and it looks like it's me. Now, I do like Ethan Klein, but not enough to sweep for him if I believe he's in the wrong. And he's done some questionable things and had some questionable takes, but I don't believe so this time. If there's something that I missed or needs updating, it will be in a pinned comment. But literally, only if it's something I think is important. So those are my biases. On with the video.
Today's video is about Ludwig, actually, who made a video called What is Happening to Twitch, in which he explains what is going on with the adpocalypse taking place on Twitch right now. In this video, he somehow didn't mention me, Hasan, Israel IP block, or anything.
Hey guys, Nathan Brandon Masters. And Ethan is 100% right about this, and he can actually talk about this because Ethan is on YouTube. But if you're on Twitch, you can't talk about the problem on Twitch because you're going to get in trouble. Because the problem is Hasan Piker and a lot of his friends. See how you can just openly say that if you're not on Twitch? And this isn't the first time Ludwig has done this because he's definitely afraid of Hasan Piker. But let me take that back. Maybe they're just friends and he wants to kind of keep in tight with Hasan. But it's a definite fear that if I do a thing, even if it's a small thing, even if it's a joke, I better be real careful because Hasan might attack. And it doesn't have to be Hasan. It could be Frogan or Denims. Denims is really horrible with this type of stuff. She will attack people with lies and slander. Frogan will do it too, but Denims is kind of known for it. But there are people who will attack in defense of Hasan Piker and his politics. Vosh is the same way, and a lot of the Twitch leftists will lie and misconstrue things and take things out of context. Remember Keffels? Yeah, before she got quiet after getting exposed. Same thing. she would do the same thing. And she was one of the big bads over there that you couldn't mess with, because if you did, you could get banned.
But where did the advertisers go? Do they hate Twitch all of a sudden? Well, the genesis of this, as far as I can tell, is when Asman got banned off of Twitch. Because you see, Asman got banned after making some comments about Palestinian people, some very negative comments about Palestinian people. He got banned off of Twitch. And this sort of caused a domino effect where people are like, okay, you ban Asman for saying this thing about Palestinian people, but, you know, what about this person saying this thing about this people? And that...
What? This person saying this about these people?
So who's this person said something about that? It's Frogan, it's Denims, it's Sneeko, it's Fresh and Fit, who, along with Sneeko, did get banned, but then got unbanned. But I'll come back to that. There's a story there. And of course, the ringleader, Hasan Piker. Let's name and shame. We know who they are, and there's actually more of them. But a lot of these people did eventually get banned after this all came to light, and Twitch was just so brazen about it. And on Twitch, you can't talk about some of these people because Twitch seems to have a political narrative that you just can't go against. And you can rise very quickly on Twitch if you stay within the narrative. You can get in a lot of trouble if you go against the narrative. Destiny is another streamer. He's also a leftist, not nearly as left as Hasan and his crew. Hasan and his crew are so left, they're almost right-wing at this point. I'm not the only person that believes that. And if you guys have been with me for a while, you probably know I have my own beliefs about the far left and far right and the radicalization and the people who are in the far left and far right and how they're generally the same people mentally. But that's a whole different story. Now, we know that two people you can't really talk about on Twitch are Muslims and trans people. And that's why Destiny got banned.
I believe that there is a fact of the matter about whether or not a person is trans, and I think that having dysphoria is an important part of getting trans treatment, and that kind of stands in contrast to right now there's something called the self-ID movement, which is you're trans if you say you're trans, and I butt heads a lot with those people, and because of my position, which they sometimes summarize as trans medicalism, they call me transphobic essentially.
Like, it's crazy because like Destiny is like aligned with these people 90%, but that's not enough. Like, the moment that you question them, they immediately use the most dishonest tactics possible to destroy your career.
But the people you can talk about, Jews.
Did you just yada, 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 the whole anti-Semitism thing?
Shout out to Ethan for the Seinfeld reference. That's some old head shit.
To protect your friend Hasan? How about having a Houthi militant on Twitch mainstream to talk about One Piece and to glaze up his fucking little Houthi cock with a flag flapping in the background that says a curse upon the Jews?
And if you haven't been around for the past month, this is a thing that did happen. The whole interview is here on YouTube. I will link it, and what Ethan said did indeed happen. Hasan Piker was straight glazing this guy. He pretty much made this guy famous in their community. Nobody else thought this was cool. In their community, he pretty much made this guy famous under the guise of journalism. But it wasn't journalism. It was glazing. It was, hey, I like this guy. Journalism is, hey, let me just ask you questions. Let me try to see your side of it. Let me see what it is. But journalism is generally, supposedly, impartial, which today, I mean, that's not even a thing. People are openly biased today to the point of lying in many situations, and we're talking about on the big news channels even. But this was some straight up biased journalism. And if you see the interview, again, I'll link to it. You can see it.
Ludwig, why did you even bother to make this video? You know what I mean? Just, you don't have to talk about it if you're too cowardly to explain it, really.
In his defense, it's a big topic, and there's probably some nice ad revenue that will come from it.
All right. And so this became, you can see October 16th, the day Asman got banned, a very common trend. All right. Oh, you ban Asman. Well, what about when Frogan said this, crazy thing about U.S. soldiers?
Oh, we're not going to gloss over that. What was the crazy thing Frogan said about U.S. soldiers?
I will never have any fucking pity for any fucking soldiers. U.S. military? Boo fucking who? I hope you get PTSD. I do, the ones I'm like whatever about the U.S. soldiers are the ones that like acknowledge that like what they did was wrong. They didn't know back then. Whatever. You're a good person in my book. I'm like a Tom. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted. The U.S. military that are like, yeah, like, I did this back then, but now I know it's wrong. Like, I'm changed. Like, fuck imperialism. Fuck this. You don't deserve the PTSD. But like any other motherfucker, you're joining them. You're like, oh my God, I want my fucking Camaro. No student loans. Fuck you.
Who the fuck is getting a Camaro when they get out the military? Is this a thing? This some kind of thing I don't know about? What is that? I've never been in the military. Do they give you a Camaro? Hey, future Nathan here. So I found out about this. So apparently a lot of guys in the military like Camaros. I ain't mad at you. Camaro's a nice car. So you do not get a Camaro for just joining the army.
I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back into fucking America.
All right. And Twitch got basically controversy after controversy after controversy.
Now, for some reason, he seems to act like this is unwarranted. But if you've been following this, you've seen this before. This is Twitch's hateful conduct policy. One of the things mentioned is veteran status. People are just not pulling this out their ass. It's right there in the TOS.
No mention of Hasan. Or me, frankly. Not to suck my own dick here, but I did a whole 3-hour episode dedicated in, meticulous 14 pages of meticulous thesising about why I thought Hasan was harboring anti-Semitism and all the various examples of it. I thought that was probably a big moment for this all as well, but he doesn't mention any of that.
Now, this also baffles me because we know who these people are. They've been talked about everywhere. So if he's not streaming on Twitch, I'm like, why isn't he mentioning these things? On Twitch, Hasan and friends have a lot of power. So if they want to cause a problem for you, they can. The CEO, Dan Clancy, he's an actual fan of Hasan. So yeah, I would understand that. Here's the thing, right? This is their trust and safety coordinator, Fadzia Madzingira. I hope I didn't butcher that. But she's one of their trust and safety council members. She was removed from her former position for anti-Semitism. Anti-Israel bias. You had one job. Listen, it's very clear you can be against what Israel is doing without being against Jewish people as a whole. Anybody with common sense knows how things like that work. But let's be clear, a lot of the stuff that was being said on Twitch was anti-Semitic, in my opinion. And in the opinion of Twitch, because they eventually banned these people, again, aside from Hasan.
And at first, this was maybe just some like social media stuff. But then there was a concerted effort by people to go straight to the advertisers, all right? Because Twitch wasn't buckling. They weren't like banning other people for their comments based off the social media blow up. They were just kind of holding fast. They banned Asman. They're like, okay, we're good now. Please leave us alone.
Here's something that he's doing that's really dishonest. He's trying to make it seem like the concerted effort was, unwarranted.
I think the underlining problem here is that they agree with the creators who they're not banning. They agree with Hasan and with Frogan, and it's an ideological decision. Like, it's not an unbiased decision to enforce the rules. This is them refusing to further other political point of views and identities that they agree with. It's downright corruption. It's horrifically bad.
So is Ethan right? Well, remember Sneeko and Fresh and Fit? You might be tempted to say, well, see, they were banned.
Because this is an issue Twitch has been dealing with for years, which is inconsistency in their bans. All right, they have their code of conduct, their terms of service, whatever. They have to ban based off of that, and sometimes it's not upheld consistently.
Sneeko and Fresh and Fit are not leftist. They're in the Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes camp. Remember what I said? The leftists on Twitch are so left that they're right wing. You have Sneeko and Fresh and Fit on the far right, Hasan and Frogan on the far left. All of them are anti-Semitic, except the people on the far left, they try to add some cover to it. Like, well, we're not against all Jews, but it really does seem like they're against a hell of a lot of them. It's like a racist saying, you're one of the good ones. The good Jews would be the ones who agree with Hasan and Frogan, of course.
That did not work. They were not left alone. Not only were they not left alone, their advertisers were not left alone.
For those who don't know, advertisers generally don't like their products being advertised alongside hateful content. You know how I know this? I was a YouTuber during the adpocalypse. Trust me, I know it. Now, a lot of you might say, wow, you would think that Twitch would see that coming based on what happened to YouTube all those years ago. Except you forget that the far left, they will throw millions of dollars down the drain to promote their ideology. You've seen this with a lot of the Disney and Marvel movies. You've seen this with a lot of things in the past few years where people say, we know this isn't going to make as much money, but the people who like it are racist, sexist, and homophobes. So we're not going to make that thing that's going to make us money. We're going to do this thing and veer off course because we don't like the fans. The same thing is kind of true here, where it's like they had an ideology, they had a thing they were pushing, and even if the adpocalypse happened or even if it stirred up some trouble, they would be okay because, you know, they're pushing a far left ideology. And believe it or not, they were actually fine for a while. It was just after all this started happening that people started talking about it in the mainstream news. When it happened to YouTube, it was almost instant because mainstream news hated YouTube, and a lot of the stuff that was happening that they didn't like was right-wing material, and particularly very far-right material. If PewDiePie did anything wrong, even if it wasn't racist and they could make it racist, they would. They were hell-bent on destroying YouTube. I mean, they failed, but they really wanted to. There's no way in hell I believe Twitch didn't see this coming. I believe Twitch just didn't care.
Okay? He says, you know, fuck Twitch for making me do this cancel culture, cuck fucks, and blueser shit, but that is exactly what happened. It was a attempt at creating an adpocalypse.
It's not an attempt to create an adpocalypse. It's an attempt to hold certain people accountable when the platform downright refuses to and runs ads on like incendiary, psychotic fucking content, right?
Adpocalypse. Attempt, very successful. Now, Twitch tried to curb this. They tried to appease advertisers and also the Anti-Defamation League, who's getting involved. And they banned several Arab streamers following a Habibi rating panel that was at TwitchCon. And you can see the sponsors are in the background of this. This was going viral. I promise you, all of these sponsors got thousands of emails in their inbox after this. And it worked.
No shit, it worked. Are you kidding me? Now, let's be honest. Some of the stuff that they came after YouTube for during the YouTube adpocalypse was taken out of context. Some of it was jokes. Some of it was shit posting. This stuff is overt anti-Semitism. And yes, some of it was jokes. But when you connect it to the consistent barrage of anti-Semitism on Twitch among the same group of people, you have to ask, is it really a joke in the minds of these people? And if so, to what end? Now, we can get into the argument of, do they really believe the things they're saying, or are they just saying the worst thing possible to get attention? But at the end of the day, who cares? The damage is the same. This is the same argument for Sneeko. Does he believe the stuff he says? Who cares? The effect is the same. So it's not so much about the joke as much as it's about the person telling it. Even the 9/11 thing that they were planning with the cake, some people were like, yeah, that could possibly be a funny joke if it wasn't coming from someone who unironically hates America. And Ludwig does a really shitty job trying to sweep for Hasan and crew because we all know who's causing the problem.
I was, and others were raising the siren about this event and this segment, which I found offensive and anti-Semitic. And Twitch did nothing for several days as this got worse and worse and worse. Once again, Asmongold got banned immediately, rightfully, duly. However, when it comes to Frogan and her friends shitting on Jewish people, shitting on Zionists, right? They need a lot of time to think about it. And I think, yeah, like when the ADL got involved, that's only when they finally suspended Frogan and all the other people up on the stage. When a sitting congressman started writing letters, posting on Twitter, then they said, okay, we should probably do something. But
so there's currently in Twitch world a piss match, right? Hasan is blaming Asmongold for the adpocalypse for teaming up with people who he says, and Asmon is
looking at me and blaming me. I want to say you're welcome.
Taking blame himself.
He can say that ironically, unironically, whatever it is. We all know what the problem is because, again, those people got banned after the ADL got involved. If held up to scrutiny, people would say, yeah, that shit's anti-Semitic, and there's a lot of it going on your platform. But here's the thing. I err on the side of old school iDubbbz. Either it's all okay or none of it's okay. I'm fine with none of it being okay, but you gotta enforce it equally. And don't act like you don't know why it's a problem when everyone else knows why it's a problem. Am I crazy right now? It seems like we all watched this as it happened. We saw this and we saw who the problem was. So why are you consistently trying to sweep for your boy when we saw the whole situation go down? Again, Ethan stated, Asmongold got banned almost immediately, and we saw that. And then we saw everything else, which is the point. Either all of it's okay or none of it's okay. Twitch saw this coming a mile away and did absolutely nothing about it because, in my opinion, it went against the ideology they were pushing, or if nothing else, all agreed with. You guys take it easy. Nathan Brendan Masters. Awesome.
A life we knew would come one day, and this is it, the borderline to where the future leaves us behind. The fire will burn and never die, looking through the eyes of a brand new life. It's so just fine.